Now I'm going to explain to you your FOTO. FOTO is our outcomes tool that we use to measure how much your problem is impacting your function and the things that you do in everyday life. And so the first thing we do is obviously to ask you all those questions, and you go through and answer them. And it takes the aggregate or the sum of all those answers, and it gives us a number. And that number summarizes how much this problem is impacting your life and do the things that you want to do. So this can be anywhere on a scale of 0 to 100, this number. 0 would be like I can't get out of bed in the morning. 100 would be like an Olympic level athlete. So when we go through, you answered all your questions, and your FOTO came out to be 52 on that scale of 0 to 100. So, okay, that's what that is. And 52 is just like, if we go down here, we can look at the questions. Like you had said, extreme difficulty doing heavy activities, a little bit of difficulty with bending and stooping. When it takes the sum of all those questions, it gives you 52 as your starting number, which is fine, that's what it is. But what we do with that is we take that number and we plug it into this database. So we have, the nice thing about this is I have access to all of these surveys that have been done, and they've been done in 12,000 clinics. There's been 14 million surveys. So if we look at all of these 14 million surveys that have been done by patients just like you all over the country, and a couple countries all over the world really, we have access to all this data. So what we do is we don't care about all these 14 million surveys. The only ones we care about are the 25-year-old females that look just like you, that have your problem of the lumbar spine pain and have we plug in your comorbidities. So like if you have diabetes, if you have high blood pressure, things like that, we're going to plug all that in there. And so now we're comparing you to other people who look just like you. So instead of 14 million people, maybe we're only comparing you to a smaller sliver of the 25-year-old females. And that might only be like 700,000. But the important thing is that we're comparing you to other people who are just like you, who have the same problem you have. So when we go in and we look at all that 700,000 people that look just like you, and again, we're not comparing you to like 85-year-old guys with ankle problems. We're just looking at the 25-year-old women with back problems just like yours. On day one, when we go into that database and we look, their average score was 44. So now you have some frame of reference, something to compare to. And we say that, okay, so now we know that Kate is a 52 and the average person is a 44. So like if you were at a 20, I would say, oh geez, she's in bad shape, you have to be very careful with her. And then by the same token, if you were at like 80, I'd be like, well, what's she even doing here? She's totally good. And so that gives us a nice starting point and gives you some idea of where you stand compared to all the other patients who come in here. So 52 is where you're starting. Most patients start at 44, but we can use this in other ways too, and we do. So the next thing we do is we go back to this 700,000 women that just look just like you, and we ask the question, okay, did they get better from physical therapy for their back? And we can go and we can look in that database and find out. And we find out that yes, they got 9 points better after the physical therapy, because we have access to their surveys that they did at the beginning of their treatment and that they did at the end of their treatment. So we go through and we look and say, okay, 9 points better. Well, what does that mean for you? Well, for instance, the questions that you answered, you said you had extreme difficulty with heavy activities around the house. When you get that 9 points better, when you get to 61 from your 52, you're just going to have a little bit of difficulty around the house. Moderate difficulty with your usual hobbies would be no difficulty. No difficulty with bending and stooping, no difficulty with standing for an hour. So this is what we can expect when you're done with physical therapy. That's what it would look like for you to be done when you completed all the therapy. And because that's the average of all those people who've actually had therapy before, we can say that it's likely that we're going to be able to accomplish this with you. So now you have some sense of, oh, is this where I'm going to be able to go? Is this what I'm going to be able to achieve? So that 9 points, the next question, we know that it can help. We go back to this big database of, like I said, maybe a couple 100,000 people that look just like you, and we say, all right, how long did it take them to achieve that outcome? And we know that because we can take the average. We have their first score and their last score. So we go through the average person that looks like you that went through physical therapy. It took them 13 visits over the course of 55 days to achieve that outcome there. So on average, that's how long it takes physical therapy to fix this problem. So we're going to set up, you know, that's what you can expect. Now, sometimes we can get people better quicker than that. You know, it takes 11 visits, it takes 30 days. Sometimes it takes longer. It depends on what happens. Everybody's individual. We're going to treat you individually. But on average, like I said, that all these surveys that have been done, this is what we can expect, 13 visits over 55 days. So we're going to try to set some of those up today. We're going to try to do maybe 3 times a week for the first few weeks, and then we're going to scale back so that we can achieve these results down here. And we'll play it by ear as we go, and we'll reassess every 30 days or so, or even fewer, and see if you need to be done. So that's pretty much that.